Thank y'all for having me here today, and thank you, Jeremy, thank you, April, for having me. And look, the legislature these past 3 years, just like y'all in business, has been very, very challenging. It's been very difficult. Being elected Speaker of the House was a huge honor for me to be able to do it. And I think it's benefited us as a whole when you look at what we can accomplish and what we could get done in Livingston Parish or Louisiana as a whole. This year was a huge success. Even the 2 years previous to that, we had tackled issues that I can tell you that Senator Pope and Valarie and former Senator Dale Early and all of us had tackled before was tort reform, tax reform, things like that. We were able to move those bills and get them successfully out and get the governor to sign them, where years past, we all know we couldn't get those bills out of committee. We couldn't even even have a conversation about it. And because of the hard work of the legislature and the good leadership that we had in place, we were able to move those bills and get them done and get them out. This year, huge success. And when I say huge success, it disappoints me sometimes that the press doesn't pick up on the successes that we have up there. One being that we passed some manufacturing bills. And when you say manufacturing, it's a big eye opener. People want to know what it's talking about. But we struggle, and all of us who travel back and forth from Georgia to Tennessee to Florida, and then traveling across Mississippi and Alabama, we see all these huge manufacturing plants. Automobile, battery plants, assembly plants, they're everywhere. Why don't we have any, right? Well, that's the question I ask myself. Driving to visit my daughters who live in North Georgia, I see all of these automotive facilities, and I'm like, why aren't we the hub of these manufacturers? We have water, we have great ports, we have great rail. I mean, we have good people here. Just didn't have it. So we started looking into it, visiting speakers of the houses in other states, visiting with their LEDs and visiting with those people. And it was very interesting. In years past, I can tell you, we always heard that we didn't get any of these because of tax policy. We didn't get them because of roads and roads being bad. Talking to these manufacturers, talking to other states, those wasn't the top issues that they looked at. What they looked at was, and it was surprising, the first thing that they all said was certified sites. How many in here we know what certified sites are? We have any realtors? So certified sites, I thought I knew what certified sites was as well, but when you look at other states and how they certify a site, it was much different than how we classify it. So you take Georgia, sitting down with the speaker from there, they moved a big plant in, employs 600 employees. They got that plant for one reason. It's in the middle of nowhere. It has no rail. It has no water, no port. It has only interstate access. It's about an hour north of Atlanta and probably 2 hours south of South Carolina. So it's not in a very good spot by all means. But what this plant wanted was, I want 500 acres of property. I want to make sure that I can go there, and within less than a year, I'll have my roads going in there. I will have my sewage going in there. I will have my water, my power. I will be ready to start putting everything up, permits and everything. And I will make sure that the locals are taken care of through it's a one-pager basically. The locals say this is what they have to have for you to come. The state says this is what you have to come. They sign off on it. It's one signature. They sign off, everybody's agreed to it, and it's done. That's huge. We only have one parish, or two now, two parishes that do something similar to that now, and one is Ascension and one is Lafayette. They have a program set up in place where, okay, if a business wants to come, this is what the school boards, this is their minimum of what they'll accept. Here's what the sheriff is their minimum to accept. So we passed some bills this year that's going to help us with that. We took a portion of LED and we moved it underneath the Lieutenant Governor's office. Other states traveling, finding out that a lot of the other states, their economic development is underneath the Lieutenant Governor's office, which makes perfect sense because he's the guy that travels He's all over. He's in people's ears. He's in other countries at times and looking and talking about bringing businesses back. Why not him be there? So we passed 3 bills that basically deal with bringing businesses in, and we've been getting a lot of calls on those 3 bills. The other thing is, and to show you how funny it is we looked at workforce, and Tennessee probably has the best workforce program in the country of retraining inmates, first offenders, young kids who are in trouble, who need guidance. They have the best program in place. Sitting with them, I said, "What's y'all's plan?" He goes, "Clay, have you read our plan?" I said, "I haven't." He goes, "It's y'all's plan." He goes, "It's Louisiana's plan." He said, "We changed 1 word in that program and it's been successful." They changed 1 word from may to shall. We shall teach these kids a trade or a demand that needs to be done in our state for a manufacturer. Huge success. They brought in the technical colleges, they're doing it. So we did that, we passed the bill to do that. So that's going to be huge for us. The other thing is, this year alone, we invested more money in roads and transportation and drainage than any other legislature before. We invested more money in education than any other before. And I think you're going to see a huge push towards the next year of addressing a lot of crime in our state. And when I say crime, it's horrible for us to have the crime that we're having in such a sociable state that brings people here. They want to come and travel. They don't want to come travel here if we're having such a huge crime issue. So with that, I'll leave the rest open for my colleagues and allow them to get in and talk about things, but I appreciate everything that y'all do. April, Jeremy, me and him have a connection from the big college in French Settlement. But we work well together. April has always had open communication with us. The chamber in Livingston has always been acceptable to me being here and helping. And I look forward as we move forward to make our state better and to do things better for all of us to make it better. So thank you and God bless you.
Well, I want to say thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you all for being here. Thank you, April. I got to serve on House and Governmental Affairs, and Clay appointed me to that committee, and I was hoping I could forget about the drama that we had, because it was very dramatic. We traveled across the state for months and talking about reapportionment and redistricting, and it got very ugly, and it was very contentious. The people that would come and were accusing us of very bad things, and we just had to sit there and listen to it. But in the end, it all worked out, because just to tell you, for redistricting, we do that every 10 years. And so the biggest change, I guess, was from the Rozier-Shreveport area was reapportioned to 1 new Senate district in Tangipahoa, St. Tammany. And that was the biggest shift because of the shift in population. And the big fight that we had, the contentious issue, was they wanted to have another minority congressional district. And right now we have 1. And so that was the big fight. They demanded that, and which would have basically done away with Congressman Graves as our congressman, and we all know how effective he is. But we said it's not based on that. It's based on population. It is based on where people live, and not on politics and not on race. You can't do that. And yet that's the argument we heard over and over. So we made our maps. The speaker had maps drawn up. We voted and got the maps like we believed they were. So they were challenged in court. The NAACP filed suit after session, but thankfully the Supreme Court upheld the legislature's decision for those maps. And so our congressional delegation was left intact. And I want to tell you why that's important. Why is redistricting important? Because it's that kind of thing, that if you can take different lines and shift, even make small shifts sometimes, you can change a district from being a conservative Republican district to moderate, possibly even Democrat. And so that's why it is super important. It was an honor for me to serve on that committee, even though it was very difficult. And I appreciate the speaker appointing me to that committee. He puts me on the hard committees. But it is an honor, and I'm glad it's over with, and that the Supreme Court ruled with us. So that's a very good thing. And it is important to be precise, and we were. and he put a lot of work into it. I just have to give him credit for this because he put a lot of work. He and our chairman, John Stefanski, worked for months every day. And we worked every day for weeks before session. But it's important because right now, Livingston Parish has historic amounts of money. Baton Rouge has historic amounts of money. We got $3 billion to do flood mitigation, and since this 2016 flood. And we have the billions of dollars through the CARES Act that are being allocated to our state. And it's our congressional delegation that is helping get those dollars for us to do projects that have been on the books for years and years and years. And one of the things that I don't know if you guys know this, half of my district is Baton Rouge and the other half is Livingston Parish. And so I have a pretty big district. And we won't get another chance like this. And one of the projects that I'm excited about, and how many of you ever fly in the Baton Rouge Airport? Anybody ever use that airport? Good, just about everybody here. Well, I'm one of the commissioners on that airport. And as a commissioner, one of the things that we've done over the years is, you've seen the renovations that we've done, and those are decisions that we've made. This year, we got $2.5 million for the airport. And the airport, the Baton Rouge Metro Airport, generates $19 million in taxes, but it's $1 billion in economic revenue is what the airport, the Baton Rouge Airport generates. And I think that's amazing because that $1 billion that it's generating affects Livingston Parish, not just Baton Rouge. And over the past 10 years, we've done the expansions and made the facilities more updated. And so it's a world-class airport, really, and it didn't used to be. So as a commissioner, I was really excited about that. I'm grateful to the state for allocating the money. We've got some federal dollars. And right now what we're working on is a direct flight, something I've been pushing for a couple of years, a direct flight to Washington, D.C. and to Chicago, but we really need that one to D.C. And so we're in talks right now with several different airlines to see what we can do. And the most important thing I want to ask you guys that would help us get this done quicker is if we use the Baton Rouge Airport and not go to New Orleans, because sometimes I know it's easier to go to New Orleans and just make those flights, but it is, that's just a little plug for our airport. And so if we could do that, that would help us. So we were able to secure $10 million recently, this year's in P1 for the Hooper Road expansion, the widening of Hooper Road, which leads to the airport, and it also alleviates congestion for people who work at the plants. So the Hooper Road, that's something that that's been on the books for at least 10 years of widening the Hooper Road to Sullivan. And I think that is a super important project that we need because we want to attract businesses to come. And the face of Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas is the airport. And when they come and they see you've got good, you can hop on the interstate. If you're coming to Livingston, you can come to basically, I call it the South Interstate, you can come that way. But one of the most important issues, and I just want to give you guys an update, that we've got several projects in the work for the Comey Diversion Canal, and you guys know that 8 years ago, I started working on the Comey Diversion Canal. When I went and talked to people, I was like, why are we paying taxes? Where's the status of this? You're shaking your head, because people said, it's dead. That project is dead. It's never going to happen. And so, I was told some pretty other things, and Senator Pope can testify that what a fight it was starting 8 years ago. But it was just a circle. We talked to the OTD, talked to the Corps, talked to ARBC. But the good thing is, with this task force that we started through legislation, we brought everybody together, got everybody in the room, and that's the key, to get everybody talking to everybody. And so it's teamwork. And so when we did that, we were able to identify the impediments to the canal and remove them. And our mission was to get the impediment, that was my mission statement that we put on there, remove the impediments to the Comey Diversion Canal and get it finished. And so I'm happy to report to you today that all the components of that canal are being done. We hope to have it finished by the end of next year, and all the pipelines relocated. And so just never give up. I was told, you're crazy, that's never going to happen, it can't happen. And I was like, well, it's not a matter of if we have another catastrophic flood, it's when, and we need to get this done. And then after the 2016 flood, people was like, that thought I was crazy, now they're saying, well, she's a genius. Because of the flood, they didn't think that that could happen. And I really didn't think it would happen in my lifetime. But so we are pushing hard. The legislature is pushing hard. Our federal partners are pushing hard to keep that going. And we have meetings every week, every Monday. We have meetings and trying to keep people on track. And so I just want to say thank you to the legislative members that are here pushing that. And so one of the things that I think is important, that one of the components that we're working together with our federal partners to talk about redistricting, why this is important, we continue to get money. Because the flooding issue, businesses are not going to come to Louisiana or to Baton Rouge specifically, this area, Baton Rouge and Livingston Parish, if they know every hurricane season they might flood. And so that has been like one of my main missions, is to get the flooding fixed and to hold our partners accountable and to get it done, working with our leaders, our local leaders here to get it done. And so that brings peace to our families. It gives assurances to businesses that every time we have a rain for 3 days, we're not going to flood. So that, I just want you to know that's being worked on as we speak. They are digging, they are starting to move the electrical lines, the gas pipelines. That was the hardest, the most time consuming and the biggest project. When you're moving a pipeline that goes from South Texas through Zachary all the way to Florida, that's massive. But the contract was signed on that last week, and we're moving forward with that. So we were able, through all of the fight that we had, April asked me to talk about redistricting and why it's important. And that's one of the reasons we have gotten billions of dollars for Louisiana. Money that we had no idea. We heard about the backlog. There's all this backlog of projects. Where are we going to get the money? And now we have the money. And that's a really good thing, and it's because of our congressional delegation who we work with very closely. And I see Brian McNabb here from Senator Cassidy's office, and with Congressman Graves, he is a phenomenal congressman that is so accessible, and you guys know that. And that was one of the things, Congressman Graves has been a godsend for Livingston Parish and for the East Baton Rouge area. And when it comes to flooding, rebuilding schools, road projects, he's there. He is fighting for us. And protecting our congressmen and our senators through this redistricting process that we just went through was a major victory. And I believe that's why the work that we did is so important. And I just want to say thank you to my colleagues who voted for that, who stood, and especially with the speaker, because it was a lot of pressure even on the House floor and behind the scenes to make concessions and give that up. But we didn't, and it was a major victory. So I just want to say thank you, and God bless all of you. Y'all have a great day.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Buddy Mincey, Jr. I'm a state rep from District 71, which is Denver Springs and Walker area. And the good news is I'm here today to talk to you about infrastructure, and I have 10 minutes to do it. The bad news is I only have 10 minutes to do it. So we have a lot of great things that's been going on in Livingston Parish for infrastructure. It is my greatest priority, and I'm going to be glad to share with you some of the things that we're talking about. First of all, I want to talk about the Aitman River, or the flood protection efforts that we have. The Aitman River Basin Commission was formed probably, I think, in 1981, and their sole focus has been on the Comet River diversion. But they're obligated, they're responsible for the entire Aitman River Basin, which includes, I think, 7 parishes. And they in '81, the legislature passed some statutes that gave them extreme authority and responsibility, and unfortunately, it's just been underutilized. So in 2021, I passed 2 resolutions. The first one was HCR 46, and this basically asked CPRA to assess the Aitman River Basin and come up with some recommendations on how we can make it better and how we can make it more effective. And they did give us a recommendation. The next thing that I passed was HCR 82. The interstate barrier that we have out there on I-12 right now that significantly flooded the northern part of Denver Springs and Walker. And whenever, I guess 2 years ago, the speaker and I met with Secretary Wilson, and I said, Secretary, I'm fixing to pass legislation we're going to fix that barrier. I'm going to give you a choice, A, B, or C. I'm going to let you pick the way that you want to do it. And he said, buddy, don't do that because we don't know what the solution is. So, there's a litigation that's going on that really complicates that, but we passed a resolution that authorizes DOTD to give us a suggestion, an engineering solution to that barrier. That report's supposed to be due in fall of this year, and we'll be looking at legislation to support that going forward. This past year, I had 4 pieces of legislation, HB 686. So we took the recommendations from CPRA and we put it into a statute. And we basically took a division, an entity, the Amite River Basin Commission, and we reinforced it, we revitalized it, we changed the membership requirements, and we took a really good instrument and made it into an almost perfect instrument that we can, move the Amite River Basin area further and not just focus on one project, but focus on the intent of that commission, and that is to protect the whole entire basin. HR 149, dredging of the Amite River. It's been over 60 years since the river, right at 68, 58, 60 years since the Amite River has been dredged. We have passed a resolution to ask CPRA to do a study with the Amite River Basin, and they're going to assess that Amite River Basin dredging, and we've got that funded as well. Another one was HR 156. We've actually asked Congress to come in and fund projects in the Amite River Basin, working with Congressman Graves. He's been phenomenal, and we're actually moving forward on that. HR 181, whenever the flood happened in 2016, Congressman Graves was able to bring in $1.2 billion to the state to put in efforts to prevent further catastrophic events. Now, that $1.2 billion was brought in because of the impact that we had, but that money was distributed across the state. $600 million of it was supposed to be in the 10 most affected areas, but they are dividing this up in regions, and they actually put Livingston Parish, the Amite River Basin, in Region 8. So we are at a competitive disadvantage. We already have the structure to have something in place that we can advocate for ourselves. In 2019, Congressman Graves and our legislators asked the LWI, Louisiana Watershed Initiative, to give us our own region, and they denied that. And so we passed a resolution. I passed a resolution on the House side, and Senator White passed one on the Senate side, and it was unanimously supported. And I think we met with OCD just recently. I think we've got them convinced that we should have our own region, and we're going to move forward with that. Talk about broadband next. So everybody hears about all the money that's out there for broadband. And in 2021, legislatively, we passed some money to dedicate some funds to the gumbo grants. It's $176 million that we've allocated. I think $90 million comes out of this fiscal year. The balance of it comes out next fiscal year. So that's $176 million to create broadband opportunities across the state. For me, our parish was silent on it. And no one was talking, no one was collectively going after this money. So I went to the parish council. We asked them to pass a resolution to form a committee. We formed the Link Up Livingston Committee, and that committee has been really, really effective in going after these grants. Next week, hopefully we should hear the results of the first award that we've got. We were told going into it that we would probably get nothing, but we know we got a $3.4 million right now that's going to go to a grant, and we should get the results of that next week. Also, there's a digital literacy component of this. We work really hard to make sure our residents are working towards making sure our residents can go on computers if we get that broadband and they know how to use them. Hopefully we have a big announcement coming out next week on that. And the other thing is a cell tower investment. Probably been working over a year on bringing a cell tower into our parish. And hopefully in the next couple of weeks, you're going to hear the results of that. And it's going to be a $750 million investment for a cell tower. It's going to be in the center of our parish. It's going to have 35-mile radius, and hopefully it's going to be able to help us out tremendously on our broadband needs. 40% of our parish is unserved when it comes to broadband. Next thing I want to talk about is, just before I forget it, on the flood protection, we got $10 million allocated towards the Amite River Diversion Canal Weir. We've got that money acquired, and we also got $8 million put into the Amite River Basin Commission. So we're going to revitalize that commission, but then we're also going to fund it. Capital outlay. Well, we've had the jobs, the projects I'm going to speak of are primarily in District 71. Senator Pope and I have been meeting actively with engineers for about a year and a half. We've increased that to monthly meetings, and we're talking with our municipalities and our engineers. We brought in DOTD, the Capital Region Planning Commission, and we're trying to strategically develop a comprehensive plan for our area. But just some of our wins. We got a roundabout at LA 64 1019. That's on Magnolia Beach Road. We got that roundabout completely funded. It was previously vetoed by the governor several times, or at least once for sure, and we've got that funded. Roundabout at Eaton Church Road in Lockhart, that's supposed to be let in 2023. Southside campus, the new campus that we have, the flood, we catastrophic to our area, but we had 2 Southside campuses that were destroyed. We rebuilt them on Highway 16, but working with Senator Pope, and we put in an application for the capital outlay to get a turning lane there. So that's $1 million, and that turning lane is almost complete. Cook Road Extension had a groundbreaking June 2022. That project is completely funded. It's been out there for 12 years. The missing component, is completely funded, and we should be getting that going pretty good. So now we're going back and looking at how we have been addressing the area, looking at it. You've got 4 main arteries in my district that feed the interstate. You got 4H Club Road, you have Range, you have 447, and then you have Jubin. So we're looking at 4H Club Road, that big development that's coming on in. We're looking at doing roundabouts at Vincent and Bass Pro, a partial interchange there to get on 4H, and then 4H and 190 improvements. And that's a tall order, but we're working on it. The Jubin widening project, just to give you an update, that's under construction. Most of the utilities have been relocated. They identified another water line that has to be moved, but it's working. Roundabout at Jubin and 190, that job was let in 2018. AT&T was supposed to take 357 days to relocate the utilities. It took them 778 days. Energy for 90 days was supposed to be relocated. It took them 962 days. So this created a contractual dispute between the contractor and the state, and it's been, the utilities were relocated in 2021, February, and we're just hopefully gonna get the project started pretty soon. Jubin North Extension, 190 to Lockhart, that was #1 priority for me in 2021. It's estimated at $21 million. We've got $676.7 million allocated in capital outlay to finalize the funding source for that. It's going to be 4 lanes with sidewalks. Widening, they're going to go to 447. Widening of 447 south of I-12, we've got $27 million dedicated to that project. We're going to 4-lane the interstate to Buddy Ellis Road and 3-lane into Joe May. The only missing component for 447 is going to be the widening of the bridge at I-12. And we're working on some federal funds to secure that and hopefully get that done. So those 4 main arteries, this ought to clear that up. I know that was a lightning rod round of projects, but that's a good thing. And I'm just thankful for the chamber for having us here. And I look forward to working with my delegates and getting some more work from the parish. So thank you.
I would say the best for last. This time I'm going to have to say the oldest for last. Let me say, my name is Hodges. I've been state senator here for 3 years. Prior to that, I see my former senator over here that we had the opportunity to work with in the House for 12 years, and he was on the Senate side. And I'm not going to go back and repeat some of the things that these people have said, because we, I think, in 12 years have laid the groundwork to do some really good things out in this parish, and I think they'll appreciate your leadership on that and working with you for those years, because I think we've done some really good things for this parish in those times. I will tell you though that I think this past year, not this past session, we've been there 3 years now in this session, but this past year, we probably have been able to do more for Livingston Parish than any other time since I've been affiliated with Livingston Parish. And as I told you, I'm an old man. You know, I'll be in public service somewhere at the end of another year, probably close to 60 years. But I think we probably did more for Livingston Parish and infrastructure needs, et cetera, this year than we've done in the past. Not because it hadn't been hard work, it's just because we had a few more dollars. And I will tell you, a part of it had to do with the leadership in the Senate and the House. We probably had the most camaraderie and the best working relationship between the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate that I've seen in the 15 years that I've been there. And I applaud Clay for that. I'm sorry, Speaker. You and I go way back, so I'll call you Clay if I do. Just slap me when you want to. But anyway, Clay had a lot to do with that, but also Paige Cortez had a lot to do with what we've done in this thing. I want to give him some credit, because I'm here to speak about in the next 8 minutes what I've got to do with what the Senate is. And so I'm going to take a little different tack. I'm not going to tell you what we've done. I'm going to try to talk to you a little bit about the layout of how the Senate operates. It's not a whole lot of different from the House, but it is somewhat different. You know, there's 17 standing committees over there, and there's 39 senators. That means that you're going to serve on 3, maybe 4 committees to get to those. Example, I'm on 4 committees, and they're very, to me, important. They're very important to this parish. I'm on transportation, I'm on health and welfare, I'm on environmental, but I'm also on revenue and fisc, which is probably the one that's the most interested in because of what Representative Mincey's got through saying with the infrastructure, because that's where all capital outlay bills start, either on the House side and revenue, on the Senate side, revenue and fisc, or on the House side, ways and means. That's where it's got to start. That's why it's got to come. If you don't get out of committee, it don't go anywhere. So those are keys. He's on one side and I'm on the other side, so I think we work really well together to be able to do some of these things with Clay's help. I can't go without saying that. But we do have a committee structure. I think it works well in most cases. I was telling someone this morning, I have a little fear that sometimes we let things out of committee that we probably should keep in committee, but that's another story for another day, you know. One of the things that I want to talk to you a little bit about was touched on by Speaker Schexnayder, and that is something to do with the businesses. What you probably don't know, and y'all gonna get upset with me today, and that's okay because I've been thrown at it before. If you don't believe it, just read social media. It's out there. I introduced a piece of legislation this year that I thought was not just important to me as an individual, having come from a system that watched it work as superintendent of schools for 14 years. I watched it, and I've seen it, and I've looked at it, and that's called the Industrial Tax Exemption Program. So I got together and I said, I'm going to have to change this, because if you go back and look, for 80 years we've had in the Constitution an ITEP program that businesses that were overseen by an appointed board could dictate to the local entities, local taxing entities, where their tax dollars were going to be spent on how we introduce the business, how we support business. The locals had no interest or no input whatsoever in this particular piece of legislation, in this. Card-carrying Republicans have been since 1960-something. That's politics, okay? Not ashamed of it or proud of it. But we did have a Democratic governor that in 2016 changed that philosophy a little bit. He came back and passed, I won't say a resolution, but an instrument that says we're going to let the locals have some input on how that tax money is going. So he come up with an 80-20 split. 80% of the businesses that we track to come into the state of Louisiana still going to get their tax exemptions. 20% is going to go to the locals. But at the local level, you've got 4 entities that's going to have some input in that. You got your sheriffs, you got your police juries or parish councils, whichever the case may be. You're going to have your school boards, and if it's applicable, you're going to have your municipalities. So those 4 entities had some say as to whether or not they wanted a business to come in and let them give up all their tax money or take the 20%. That was an option. Up until 2016, that was not an option. We had a board that was appointed by a governor, whoever he or she was, says that this is what you're going to do. You had no input. Let me just say this. Because of that, there's $283 million that have gone back to the local parishes, the 64 parishes in this state, to help out with local economy. Most of you people are business people. When we want to build a local road, we want a local bridge, we want to pass a local tax for anything, who's going to fund it? Who really ends up funding it? It's the people in the parish and the local small businesses that have to pay that. But if we can get $280 million back in to help offset that, that's less money that you have to come out of your business or your local pockets. I thought it was a good bill. Quite frankly, it's probably, in fact, I know it is. The only bill I ever got defeated over there in 15 years was this one. And I got heck beat out of it. The vote came out 20-14. But you know what? They're going to get to see it again. I told them that. Because we may not pass it. Because I've got a lot of people that are opposed to it. But you know what? I had a lot of people supporting it. I had the Sheriff's Association, I had the Police Jury Association, I had the School Board Association, and I had the Municipal Association. All four of those entities felt like what I was doing was the right thing to do. So if they do, I think I can support that. That's one of the things that we were able to do. Back to the Senate. The Senate is a good thing. We're the, I won't say the brains, I won't say we're the solving problem, but we do get a lot of things that come from the House. It's 105 House members, there's only 39, so it's a lot of give and take there. But I will say that we have worked together really well. I won't get into what we've done, what we've accomplished, or anything like that.
You got a minute and 40.
Well, I'm going to give you a minute and 40 seconds of a local issue that I think is very important that most of us don't even know about. And that is our North Shore Technical and Community College. It's located about 1.5 miles here on Burgess Avenue. It's been there since 2018. That Senator Erdy and others of us helped put together the funding for that several years ago, and it's there. Nobody knows it's there. It is one of the highlights, one of the jewels that we've got in this parish that we need to promote. And I know that you have had an opportunity to talk with those people, and you see the importance of what North Shore is. I would encourage you to go out, because on this month, the 28th of this month, 4 to 7, they're having an open house. Go by and look at it and see. We've had the opportunity this year, and I'm going to take 30 more seconds because I'm on a roll. We had an opportunity this time to try to get some capital outlay money for the enhancement, for the enlargement of that campus, because we're out of room. We were not successful, but we will be this coming time. We're going to put it in capital outlay. We've been assured that we'll get some capital outlay money to do that. Anyway, that's just a plug for North Shore. One of the jewels that our delegation has worked on and able to get, and that's the only thing I'm going to tell you that we're real pleased with. So, thank you for inviting me. I don't know what the hell I've said today, but appreciate it anyway.
Yes.
Buddy, you mentioned dredging the 8-Mid River, and can you elaborate a little more on that? Because I know the people on the south end of the parish always complain about, drainage down there, and I think it's very important that we know kind of what all that entails.
Yeah, and thank you, Jeremy, for that question. I apologize for the lightning round a while ago, and I just would be really remiss if I didn't give some credit. Senator Erdy, for all the years of your service, he's phenomenal on the infrastructure, and thank you very much for that. And also Speaker Schexnayder. I cannot tell you how important it is for us to have the Speaker of the House being from Livingston Parish. Now, he lives in Ascension right now, but he's from Bayou Barber down there in the southern part of the parish. He represents 4 of them. But most of that infrastructure that I spoke about, we would not be able to do that without his support. So he's been a tremendous asset to us. But back to the 8-Mid River, so the 8-Mid River affects everybody, affects the whole parish, and 7 other parishes. So, I talked about the Weir earlier. That Weir project's been out there for a long time. And the Weir project, for those of you who don't know, it diverts water from the 8-Mid. Whenever the 8-Mid hits the diversion, it's designed to divert water down the southern part of the 8-Mid River. That design has failed over the years, or it's just dilapidated. So we actually have that the southern part of the 8-Mid River is silting in. So the 8-Mid River before that, or even just collectively, something needs to be done, and it takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of funding, and the dredging that we're talking about doing is trying to get a study. You have to do a study first, And then you go, and once you get that study and you validate it, you do the engineering, inspections and you do the engineering studies, then you go after and you try to secure the funding. So that's the first part of that, and that is the vital for our area and for the David River Basin.
I have a question for you. Where can we find the maps for the new districts at the state level and federal level?
I want to address one thing he said about the weir. Several years ago, probably, I guess, 6 years ago, we went down there. I took a group with ARBC, some people from DOTD, and we got one of the sheriff's boats, and we launched in the diversion canal. And so we're sitting on the diversion canal side, on the Amy River diversion canal, and he showed me, we stopped and he showed me the depth finder, and the depth was like, I think it was like 28 feet. And he said, let me show you something. We moved about 15 feet, 20 feet over, and it was 3 feet in the Amy River itself. And so we met with DOTD, and it was always the same thing, we're just pushing to get that done. And that's one of the reasons that, we got a commitment that they were going to start working on it. And that's why I passed the bill that removed the Amy River and the Comic River from the Scenic Rivers Act, because they are in the Scenic Rivers Act, and that means you can't do anything. You can't snag and dredge and clear. And, I laughingly said in the 2016 flood, where did my rocking chairs go? Where did my lawnmower go? Well, it's probably in the bottom of the Amy River. And so all of that stuff, your stuff, my stuff is in the bottom of those rivers, and that is definitely slowing it down. And that's why I passed those two bills to be able to do that. And it's almost maddening that they have to study everything. And that's what we've been pushing, just get it done. This needs to be done to build a weir, because right now, until they put those rocks back, the river keeps going into the diversion and silting in more and more, which is backing up. So all of these components that we're talking about it's not one big fix. The Comic Diversion Canal is not the big fix. It's all of this together. But so the maps you can find at thelegis.la.gov.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we looked, and so there is a change in the Senate district now, correct?
It's a small change. There were more precincts in Central that are now, this district mostly is all Livingston Parish, I think, except for 2 precincts, correct?
Yeah, the Senate district, it's a new district. I don't know the number, quite frankly, but it encompasses parts of the eastern part of the parish. It comes in, I think, if you know where Pea Ridge Road is in Albany, it'll come as far west as that, the new district. It'll go all the way down into Springfield. That would be the new district. The remaining district, District 13, is all now in Livingston Parish. We do not go into Tangipahoa Parish as we have in the past, or into the central area as we have in the past. We've had those 3 parishes. Now, District 13, the Senate district, is strictly a Livingston Parish Senate district.
So there was before Ascension, is there that condition as well, or?
Ascension Parish, there will be, right now, there is a senator that represents some of the part of the southern part of the parish who will continue to do that. The reason for it was, as Valarie had said in her presentation, and again now, is because of the numbers. There was 12,000 people in my senatorial district that we had to give up, 12,000 people. So it had to shuffle the precincts around. And that's why we were able to get another senatorial district in the Florida parishes, which I think is huge for Florida parishes. I really, it's a great asset to us, I really do.
We all know the challenges we've been facing over the last 2.5 years. One of the biggest challenges coming out of the last 2.5 years is workforce. And we're seeing that in healthcare, in education, in every industry, but really in education and healthcare. I saw a statistic that going into the next school year, St. Tammany Parish school system has 91 openings for teachers. Can you talk to us, I know Buddy, Representative Mincey, you and I have spoken about this. Can you all talk to us about some of the work y'all are doing to address workforce shortfalls and some short-term and
First of all, thank you for that question. I'll answer it in 2 parts. Our healthcare industry is struggling, as well as our educational industry. So I had, last year I had I guess it was a tour. We brought in all the healthcare hospitals in to tour what we're doing in Livingston Parish and seeing what our school systems are doing. And we have partnered up and done so many things that we are trying to increase that workforce pipeline between Livingston Parish and our school systems and our healthcare industry. On the teaching, so look, our teachers, if y'all don't know it, we are in a critical workforce shortage in teachers. You know, you just look anywhere, you know, and last year I passed a resolution as a teacher, retention, studies of teacher retention, recovery, and recruitment. And we've got stakeholders that involved across the state, and we're trying to look at what we can do to make it the teaching profession better for they stay longer. And we've got a bunch of bills that passed this session. We've got a bunch more coming. That task force is a 2-year task force. The first year was basically we're trying to get down to the problems, and we've got some legislation that passed out of it, but we've got another year to do some more with that. But our teachers, we need to do everything we possibly can to take things off of teachers. Legislators, policymakers love to put more in our school system and love to put things on our teachers because they do not understand the impact. And what I have challenged them to is before you do anything, before you pass anything from an educational standpoint, assess what it does to our teachers, and if it puts more on them, don't do it. And we need to do everything we can to take things off of our teachers. Thank you for that question.
Can I expand on it just for 30 seconds? Don't hold that sign up, I can't read it. It says POTS, that's POTS. No, back to your healthcare question, you know, and I mentioned North Shore a while ago. This is one of the things we're doing out here is trying to, and we got a great nursing program it's beginning there. It's in its infancy, but it wants to grow. That's why we got to expand the facility. Because we don't have enough people in the nurse. I have a daughter, a granddaughter, really, that is a nurse. I know what the issues were. Still don't hear it every day. But there is a work shortage, and not just in your area, not just in the education area, which I'm more familiar with than anything else, because Buddy's touched on all that, and I know what it is, dealing with a group statewide. I can give you some examples. 10 years ago, we had 2,100 people to graduate in a 4-year university in the College of Education. 10 years later, in 2019, we had 900. That's where we are. Why they want to do it, I don't know. But why do we can't get people to work at McDonald's? Why can't we get them to work anywhere else? See, that's to me. I have a theory, nobody wants to hear it, but I think we give too much money out way back when with some of this federal dollars.
Raise your hand if you have all the workforce you possibly need and don't need any more employees in your company. Everybody's feeling it across the board. Senator, former senator, Leadership Livingston graduate. Yeah, proud graduate.
First of all, thank you for all that you do for Livingston Parish and the great state of Louisiana. I know y'all work hard, and I think your efforts do not go unseen. So thank you so much. A couple things. HOV lane on I-12. Would you kind of bring us an update on that, if you will, please?
Well,
the HOV lane.
Oh, okay, yes, yeah.
On I-12.
Yeah, and in fact,
Also, one other point. The Range Avenue intersection of I-12, you know, I've talked to DOTD Secretary of years about how that is nothing but a cluster, if you will. As if they talk about a reverse diamond back type of program or project there. Can you give us an update?
well, since I've only got a minute, I'm going to take the HOV lane, and I'm going to let you take the interstate, if you don't. HOV lane, we have had a conversation with Dr. Wilson, put him on call this past session, as I mentioned, I think to you before. I got my first report here last week, and I'll send you a copy of it. What they've done, they put it out for contract. They do have some contracts. They're doing some renovations on the inside lane. What is HOV is, what this HOV lane is started back in 2015, if I remember correctly, with a resolution that Senator Erdy and he and I put together. I guess he put it together, I supported it. And that was to put an HOV lane from Walker all the way to the 10-12 split, going east in the mornings, west in the mornings and east in the afternoons. You know, we wanted it to be, I guess you could say, where it would be somewhat cost effective to have private partnerships. They tell me, Dale, that can't be done now, so the state's going to pick up the whole thing, so but they have got it out, they got the bid out, and they're in the process, but I'll send you that report. So it is on move. I've been told that we're gonna get a monthly report, not a month, but a 3-month report. That's one of the things that our transportation committee required of them. We want a 3-month report every 3 months on HOV lanes, because that's important to what we do. I think with expedite, I think all of us would see the expedition of traffic going into Baton Rouge in the mornings or coming out in the afternoons. I can't read that part, son. Come on.
Well, I will tell y'all, it is a little after 9, so I know y'all gotta go, we understand.
But this is some good stuff.
It is great stuff, that's why I'm just pointing that out.
Yeah, so the question you sent earlier to the range area, look, if you live in this area, you know range is terrible, right? Years ago, there was a plan to do an interchange at Highway 16, at the Beach Highway interchange. In fact, they had public meetings, and I went to the meetings, they had 3 plans, and once it was determined that they were not going to do that, then that just, all those conversations just went away. The meetings that I was telling you that we're doing monthly right now is to address those issues. And there's about 7 or 8 components of what to get to that diverging diamond at Range Avenue that you're talking about. And we're aggressively working on all of them. We're trying to figure out planning, we're trying to figure out scheduling, and we're trying to get some funding sources. So we are working on that right now. And let me just take a minute to introduce my legislative assistant, Ms. Teresa Clement, right here. And her office is in Denham Springs, and we do a good job she does a good job of trying to answer constituent issues. She's passing around some legislation that I passed this year. Some of my education bills are in there, but I want to recognize her and thank her for being here this morning. And that answers the question.
I will, one thing that we failed to mention, and all of us that's been around the parish for a while, know how many new roads we get built every year, right? Hadn't had one in, 100 years probably. We do have now, and something that you, Senator, had interest in, that's the DEMCO. There's money in there now to enlarge that, to take it all the way back out to Cook Road, if you will. And then also, we've been able to get money, and I say we, the delegation, is able to get money for the Juban North extension from 190 to Lockhart through the woods. That's something, will it alleviate traffic? Absolutely will help. It's going to be enough roads? Absolutely not. But at least we do get something. So, thank you.
As a segue to the HOV subject, DOTD has a grandiose plan to widen I-12 and I-10, and mostly I-10 through Baton Rouge, and that'll help Livingston Parish ultimately, because we have thousands of people that work in Baton Rouge and the plants west of the river. The only thing is, it's going to take 4 or 5 years. According to DOTD, they'll be down to 1 lane each way. And as a matter of fact, they're planning on switching part of the westbound to the eastbound, vice versa. There's been a plan submitted by another committee that would drastically reduce the downtime and also simplify and take less time to build, a lot less money. DOTD has rejected it. They haven't given a reason. It appears that the transportation committees have very little oversight over DOTD in these things. And my question is, can we, and also the other thing is, one of the main problems with I-10 right now is the Washington Street exit, which was supposed to have been closed 3 or 4 years ago, remains open. And is there anything that that the legislature can do to expedite this process and to get a more efficient operation.
Did you put that stop sign up for him? He took all my time, so I'm not going to answer the question. Bobby, you asked a lot of questions there, and I think that you threw a little bar about it at the transportation committees. There's only a limited amount of oversight that we do have over DOTD. It's a separate entity, funded differently, run through I guess you'd say the administration. But we do have some oversight on that. A lot of this is federal. You know that. It's run by federals, what you can do on federal highways. But all I can say is that if you want to go into Baton Rouge in the next 3 or 4 years, and once this project starts, you better find an alternate route. That'd be my suggestion.
Yes. Jeremy?
Senator Pope, I appreciate you bringing up North Shore Technical College earlier. I think you said it best when not many people know about it. Well, me personally, I knew about it, but didn't know where it was located. And I talked to Ms. Lizette about a week ago, and it's got some exciting things going there. And as the chair of the Governmental Affairs Committee, I think, we have business priorities. We're the leading business organization in the parish, and we got business priorities. So I think, taking an action item, I think we need to put that on our agenda next year. And if you say we can get more funding and build more buildings, I know cosmetology is something we talked about. Everyone's hurting in the workforce here, so the more people that know about this and can, lobby for more money, the better. So thanks for bringing that up.
Well, I'm glad you had an opportunity to meet with her. I think she's a very dynamic young dean that we've got over there in the last year, and I think that she's got big things going. Cosmetology is one of the things that we met with Dr. Wainwright, the chancellor, that he wants to do as well as enhance on the nursing. There's other things. We're looking at about a $27, $28 million project that we're going to try to get funded, and I think that we can do that this next year. But we're going to need some local help. We're going to need you if you're the governmental affairs. I know who to talk to now. So, but encouraging people, they need to go see that, because I'm going to tell you, it is a diamond over there and nobody knows it's there.
Well, so I'm going to touch on that. So a couple of things, just so y'all know that the chamber was involved in all of the businesses. If you were called into, we were invited to and participated in the segments and the discussions prior to the community college coming on board on what actually businesses needed it to be, and we found it to be a variety of things. Another thing is that it is on our radar, and we have been, champions of that college, that campus, since it came on, and then also we make sure that that is one of the stops on our Leadership Livingston piece. You just so happen in 2020 is COVID, and we would go on to the education segment, and that's when we weren't able to go because the world came to a halt.
I wasn't slapping you with this.
No,
I promise you I wasn't. I know your input. I've watched you, and I do appreciate that from a standpoint. Because this is something we've been working on for 25 years, so it's very personal to me.
Absolutely.
But I know how much work the chamber has done, so don't take that personal.
Yeah, I just want everybody to kind of know, we're trying to tie everything together on what the chamber does. A lot of people go, what are the chamber? So I'm just using that as an opportunity to tie it in. All right, so going once, twice. So look, thank you everybody.